To the esteemed officials of the Linguistic Society of the Philippines, fellow paper presenters, participants, a pleasant day to all of us. I am Giancarlo R. Perez, and I'm very blessed and honored to present our study, the Derivational Morphemes in Guihulngan-Visayan. As we all know, language is an essential and ultimate instrument of communication that is required for language learners and everyone to communicate effectively. This vital part of learning enables everyone to understand the main contents, vocabulary, sentence structure, and grammar. In this sense, morphology becomes fundamental in studying the word structures to elicit more profound knowledge of a specific language. So this study focuses on the forms and meanings of derivational morphemes in Visayan language, most especially or most specifically the Guihulngan-Visayan dialect, which are often misunderstood by speakers considering that the rules in Visayan language differ based on the geographical locations, especially on the proper use of word structures. Thus, this study would further understand the morphological process of derivational morphemes. Kilaton shows Cebuano as the most commonly spoken language in the Philippines after Tagalog, being spoken by 20 million people in Cebu, Bohol, Negros, and Mindanao. So it is imperative to research and illustrate the morphology of terms because it helps everyone in discovering the meaning of unfamiliar words. Likewise, Badili and Lonsdale show that it is crucial for language acknowledgements, web searches, and corpus analysis to understand how words are created to figure out all instances of words, including all contaminated words based on each word being found. So, this study specifically seeks to answer the following research questions. One, what are the different derivational morphemes found in Gihulngan Visayan based on the essays? Two, what does each derivational morpheme mean? Three, what is the function of each derivational morpheme? This analysis is focused primarily on the Buch 2017 theory of building morphology, which deals with the vocabulary structure. It is studied as construction, in which tricky words of the language systematically combined with the form and meanings are studied. According to Massini and Udring 2018, the idea that the fundamental concept of the construction grammar considers shape meaning pairs or constructions rather than distinction between grammar and lexicon as basic units of expression. So this paper employs a descriptive research design or research design which analyzes the corpus made by the second year BS Ed English students at Negros Oriental State University Gihulngan campus. Students were tasked to make three-paragraph essay with at least three sentences for each paragraph regarding their life experiences written in local language or the Gihulngan Visayan. The researcher then closely focuses on their composition to evaluate the derivational morphemes of Yehun and Visayan that were used in the essays. The data were analyzed through textual analysis. In the preliminary stage of data collection, the researcher identified the Gihulngan Visayan morphemes collected from the source data. In the second stage of information extraction, the data were analyzed individually to identify the changes that happen in the word. And in the third stage of interpreting, the data found the derivational morphemes. After discovering the forms and meanings of the derivational morphemes in Gihulngan Visayan, the conclusion is the last stage used to answer the research question and achieve the objective of the study. So as we all know, for the information of everyone, Guihulngan is a small city in the province of Negros Oriental, located at the northern side of Dumaguete City. Cebuano or Visayan language is mostly spoken by people living here, and its neighboring cities and municipalities, which only means that morphological processes are similar or closely related. Abid revealed dimensions caused by derivational morphemes when attached with other morphemes. That if the derivational morpheme is attached with a free morpheme, it will convey different meaning and a chance that it will change even word class. So after identifying and evaluating the derivational morphemes found in the essays, the researcher then tallied each morpheme and classified it as prefix, infix, and suffix. Repeated words were only counted once so that it would be easier to determine how they were used in particular. The tables would comprehensively explain how the derivational morphemes function to produce meaningful words answering the research questions. So for table one, this shows that there are 734 morphemes that are used as prefixes. Now the table shows that the frequently used prefixes were ma, ka, and pag, having 12.9, 10.20, and 8.58% respectively. On the other hand, prefixes ha, ig, ik, im, luma, maga, magma, magpaka, mupa, paghi, pama, pasi, pi, ra, su, tag, and only occurred once. The data entails that prefixes are always present in the language. Thus, distinguishing the proper use of these prefixes is an important part of building effective communication or become an active reader or a speaker of the language. Ferrat emphasizes that prefixes, same with suffixes and infixes, must be handled carefully because they have an essential role in word forming mechanism. Therefore, speakers of the language should not be confused of these different morphemes. Instead, maximum identification is required. Now let's proceed to the second table, which is the derivational morphemes used as infixes. The infix uh, used was used 11 times, or I mean the infix in was used 11 times or 44% based on the study's corpus, while infixes la and lu were used once. It is observed that there were really few infixes used. Guihulngan-Visayan is usually within the base form of a word rather than initial or part to make new words and deepen meanings. It has been stated by Belgian 2015 that the main aim of this infixation is not to establish words or concepts in morphology, but stylistic and descriptive terms. For table 3, the table reveals that an, nang, and on were the derivational morphemes used as repeated suffixes with 30.30, 23.90, and 14.40% respectively, while suffixes anan, is, and y were used were the least used morphemes because they were only used once. Suffixes are attached to the words that contain the strong impact of the word's effect. Manova has clarified that the evidence of suffixes or closure in various languages, but it is challenging to identify semantic processes affecting a word. This shows that a detailed understanding of morphological process will help students and speakers acquire knowledge of the language and better understand it. For table 4, these contain the definitions and functions of the prefixes. Okay. So as observed from the table, most of the prefixes of Guihulngan-Visayan language functions as a verb that denotes past, present, and future tenses. The past tense is usually in the form of gi, ni, and nag, and some of other prefixes which tell that action is already completed. The present and present progressive tense both can be used on the speaker, like gina and gipang, or me, that expresses a continuous action. It can be also noted that there is no the need to use modal will because prefixes mu and mag already express futurity. The superlative degree of an adjective that is used in the form of est is used in the Visayan language in the form of kina or pinaka. Thus, the presence of inflectional morphemes are seldom used. In Nasib and Ibrahim, the analysis will clarify why derivations can induce inflecting but not vice versa. The distinction between derivative and inflection is this: derivation relies on the inflective finishes, but the stem shapes of the words. So for table 5, this is about the uses and function of infixes. There are only a few derivational morphemes used as infixes that were identified based on the essays written by the students. The table reveals that these infixes do not have particular function. They are dependent to the root, and the meaning may vary based on its usage. The word binuang, for example, is composed of two morphemes, buang or crazy, and plus place after the first letter, making the word form to make the word become an adjective based on the stem. The infix can make a significant shift of a word. Gikan or from plus placed after the first letter creates other parts of speech which are conjunction. Which is conjunction. Thus, it is tough to predict a particular function of the infix. Infixation analysis of Belgian is much more versatile and not exclusively prone to many guidelines than some other morphological processes. Let's proceed to table 6, which is the uses and functions of suffixes. The table shows that a function of different use of suffixes that were used in the corpus. It can be seen that most of them carry the function of their root word. The word lantaw, for example, or look, when added with a suffix a becomes lantawa or look at it, that that directing someone to follow a command. There are also instances that suffixes could tell a gender like misterioso or mysterious man or chismosa, a girl who is fond of telling gossips. Another thing that makes this suffix unique is that it can function as a word connection, like for example, siyag, ako, he and me, wherein the suffix g is attached to the word that links it to another word. Furthermore, it can be used as replacement of English copula is, like for example, unsa make unsa or what added by y will make the word unsay or what is. However, we cannot generalize the derivational morphemes particular function because meanings may vary as the speaker of the language uses it. Thus, the process may become dependent on the speaker. Ibrahim and Nasaib found that morphological mechanism can be based on the conceptual basis on the derived words from an individual lexical entity inserted in a speech dictionary on their own. So all in all, the researcher would like to conclude that the derivational morphemes used in Guihulngan-Visayan involve several thrilling morphological processes that can impact a speaker's message. This analysis involved an extensive examination of the derivation morphemes that occur in the corpus, and the construction morphology is divided between grammar and lexicon. The terms Guihulngan-Visayan were used differently. Prefixes are often used to tell the verb tense. Infixes are dependent on the stem or the root word, and suffixes are usually used to make words as adjective. However, this does not entail that all affixes have the same morphological process, as the problem committing errors in derivative morphemes was clarified in the study of Ibrahim and Naseib 2017. So it is cumulative issue that arises from other problems faced by speakers concerning the trunk. Hence, understanding the language must be required precondition for comprehending and proficient in Cebuano language, particularly its morphology. So the researcher would like to recommend that since it is only limited to derivational morphemes which are found in the corpus made by the students, so it is recommended that language experts should also investigate other kinds of derived morphemes, for it will improve Visayan grammar and develop expertise in studying the morphological process in cooperation. And that ends my presentation today. I hope our study helped everyone in understanding our local language. I also hope that I can also be part of your upcoming research endeavors. Thank you very much, and may God Almighty bless us all. Stay safe.